All right.
Are we ready? All right.
Yes, we are.
Call the meeting to order. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag, of the United States
United
of
States of
America,
America.
Republic
And
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Kennedy, would you like to welcome everybody to our township meeting?
yes, on behalf of the commissioners of Calhoun Township and of all of our dedicated hard workers and our manager, we welcome you to our Thursday, May 8th meeting. And everybody that's out there in the audience and those that are online, much like myself, I thank you. I'm not feeling well. Suffering a lot of allergic reactions to the pollen. So pardon my absence. Hope that you can contribute to our meeting tonight. If you have any ideas or concerns, we welcome them, and we hope that we can resolve your issues and concerns and, give us ideas and keep us working. Thank you and welcome again.
And thank you, Jane.
Jane.
Next, citizens to be heard, and this is for agenda items only. Anyone here in the township building? Do not see any hands raised at the moment. Anyone in Zoom?
Oh, excuse me.
All right. So we have our solicitor, and Ms. Camp could not attend this evening, but we have Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Tom.
Oh, we're going to need the mic.
Need the microphone.
Just double.
One item for your consideration this evening. It's a proposed ordinance which would establish a new chapter 17 of your code titled Environmental Advisory Council. The effect of the ordinance would be to establish an environmental advisory council consisting of at least 3, no more than 7 persons in the township. Purpose of that council would to be provide advice to the commissioners on environmental matters. There are 2 documents to make part of the record. B1 is a proof of publication in the Daily Local News of potential enactment of this evening, the ordinance this evening. B2 is an email from our office indicating that we filed the ordinance with the Chester County Law Library and the Daily Local News as provided by. You can accept any comments that anyone might have, and then it would be appropriate to take action.
Thank you, Tom. Commissioners, any comments, questions?
No, we talked about this a lot at our last meeting and maybe even the one before. So I'm all on board with this. It's a great idea.
Good
Jane?
idea.
All right. Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Commissioner Kennedy, comments?
Ready to move forward.
All right, sounds good. I will reach out here to the township. Anyone have comments, questions? None at this time. Anyone in Zoom? All right. With that said, entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2025-02 establishing an environmental advisory council.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Young. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
And with that, I'll take my leave unless you need something else, but it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure seeing you again, Tom.
Short period of time.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that that is established, Don, Abby, do we have volunteers from the Sustainability Task Force that are willing to step up?
We have a few individuals that have expressed interest and would be more than happy to provide the commissioners with a list of names for consideration once the applications are completed.
Oh, perfect.
Excellent.
All right, if we can hopefully get that by next meeting, just get this up and running.
Yes.
That's very doable.
Thanks.
You already have a great crew, great staff that did an excellent job. So looking forward to keeping them together, at least 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, up to 7.
Awesome.
Perfect. That's a good start.
Great.
All right, next, engineering. We have Ross online?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good
Hello,
evening.
Ross.
Hi, Ross.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So for the agenda for tonight, we have the Thorndale Fire Company site. So we were asked to join a few members of the fire company and the Public Works Director, Johnny Huggins, for a walk at the site there at the fire company building, and particularly to look at a few drainage and pavement issues that were happening there. So on my screen here is an aerial map of that area, and what we were finding were a few issues at the doors on the south side of the building here where the fire trucks come in and out. There was some pretty substantial pavement rutting right in that area where the trucks have a lot of turning movements. There was also some pretty deteriorated pavement just off to the west of that at approximately this location. And that looked to be from poor drainage and then pavement cracking and water seeping in. And then with a lot of vehicular traffic going in, pavement deterioration. And then there's also an issue with snow plowing along the driveway where there's a crown down the center of the driveway. So it makes it so that snow plows don't get a good contact with the full width of the driveway. And so snow removal is very difficult, and it would be best to improve that so that if there's any emergencies during winter weather, that it's more efficient to be able to get out of the site. So with that in mind, we looked at these issues and put together a proposal for some preliminary design of what we could do to address them. So we submitted a proposal to the township, and that we would be doing some topographic survey to establish what the base condition is, preliminary design to the point where we could do a meaningful cost estimate so that the township would know what sort of commitment would require to correct these issues. So that's kind of where we stand at the moment with just this proposal for your consideration, and happy to take any questions if you have any or comments.
All right, thank you, Ross. Commissioners, any comments, questions?
The total is not to exceed 9,600. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And where are we paying for this out of?
So this would not be from fire tax. We looked into fire tax, and that would not be. So it would be infrastructure capital.
Okay.
One question: the crowning of that length of road, is that due to the vehicles, the weight of the vehicles, or is that just how it was designed?
It looks to me like that's how it was originally constructed, and many roads are crowned in that way. But I think the fact that the driveway is not, say, the full width of, say, a 24-foot road, in which case both sides of a typical road, you can plow along one side and then along the other. Whereas this, you're trying to plow the whole thing at once, and there's basically a high point in the middle, and it just makes it difficult.
Understood. All right. Definitely needed, since the emergency services need to come and go from that spot. All right. I'll reach out here to the township. Any comments, questions? None at this time. Anyone in Zoom?
I'm good.
All right. Good to go. Well, this is a discussion item, not an action item.
Right.
Okay. So for the next meeting, we
We would have it as an action item.
put it as an action item so we can move forward with it. Thank you, Ross. I think that's all you had on your list.
Yep, I think I'll just stick around for the next item in case there's any questions that relate to me. But that would be it after that one, I think.
Yeah, good point. Now that I'm looking at that. So let's go to the township manager, Mr. Vimazal. We have a bridge closure.
Yes. Good evening, commissioners. Before we discuss the bridge closure, I wanted to see if there was consideration with the EMS, as you mentioned, emergency services are incredibly busy. Would it be feasible to move up the resolution celebrating their service to the community, just in case there is any need for them to?
Just in case they have to run. I have no issue with that.
Absolutely.
Would be agenda item 4.1.
Need to turn the page. See, front page. 4-1.
EMS.
All right. Yeah. Oh, EMS week. Do we have a page here so I can pull this up?
What is that, 145?
I think you're on it.
Yeah, 145.
Ah, perfect. All right. Does anyone want to stand up and speak pertaining to this? I see a couple folks here. Sure.
My name's Phil Childress. I am the EMS chief. I just want to say thank you for the township for this resolution and acknowledging the work that our people do. We have an exceptional group of men and women. Nobody does what we do better. Sacrifice time away from their family, sleepless nights, miss out on holidays to serve the community. And we're very grateful for the township and the community support. And we look forward to continue working with you guys in the future to make sure Makepeace is the top flavor it should be. So thank you.
No, thank you. We appreciate it. Any other comments? Questions? Some recognition from the township folks here? At this time, anyone in Zoom? Okay, well, I would like to read the resolution. Well, why don't we entertain the motion to designate it first? How's that sound? All right, entertain a motion, designate the week of May 18th to May 24th as EMS week.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, everybody jumped on that.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, sounds good. And if you can indulge me, I will read this. To designate the week of May 18th to the 24th of 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week, EMS Week, whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including holidays. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services fill healthcare gaps by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, the firefighters, the police officers, the educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of the emergency medical service providers by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, Count Township of Pennsylvania, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to the 24th, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week. The 51st anniversary of EMS Week theme is EMS Week, We Care for Everyone. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, activities in honor of the EMS profession and the essential service it provides. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good idea. We cannot thank you enough. All right, you're going to stick around?
We get to go.
All right. Thank you. All right. We will head back. Township manager, we have the road closure. Of course, there's a reason why you wanted to put that off.
Yes, unfortunately, commissioners, I do have fortunate news. We had an inspection following some inquiries from the public regarding a bridge on Town Meeting House Road. It's a small culvert towards Fisherville, end of that roadway. Upon a full inspection, it was determined that that bridge was no longer safe for full vehicle access, and a difficult decision was made to close the road until such time as we can have a full and complete evaluation and a strategy in terms of a timeline for repair or replacement. We are currently engaged in planning those activities, getting our engineer to coordinate with appropriate technical staff, review the conditions of the bridge, and then devise and develop a formal solution to that. We anticipate, due to the nature and busy conditions of that roadway, we are going to, I presume, we will attempt to have it under an emergency permit so we can limit the amount of period of time it will remain closed. And we're hopeful that could be before the board as soon as next meeting as agreement to get that work started. Wanted to get this on the agenda to bring to your attention, of course, and the public's attention, just so that awareness of the closure, proper detour routes are being posted, of course, and answer any questions that you may have regarding the situation.
All right. Commissioners, any comments?
I'm glad it's being taken care of so quickly. I know it's an inconvenience for the people that have to go there for work or live along that road. It's great to hear. Thank you.
An idea of how many constituents are being affected by this?
As far as residents that access that roadway, of course, it is right on the township line.
Right.
So there are quite a few. I think a number of individuals also utilize that roadway from out of the township. So
Right.
it is a very busy roadway. When we were up there several points last week and earlier this week, there were especially quite a few vehicles. Notifying the school district, of course, of the closure for school bus routes and other types of construction equipment. We felt it was important just based on the conditions of that culvert, that bridge, from a safety perspective to close until we're able to get a better feel for the situation.
The detour, how much, I know this is, shouldn't be asking so many questions, but the detour, how much travel time is that adding to the average?
There are a number of routes that individuals can take. If you're heading south towards that roadway, going either to the right or to the left, there's a very nearby detour routes available. And for those that live in the community, there are other opportunities to get around that closure. We do have a formal detour plan that our Ross, our engineer, has provided. I don't know, Ross, I believe, is still on in the meeting. Now, do you have that available? The detour map? I can pull it up if you do not.
I do, Don. Yes, I can put that up on the screen here. So the detour route, which uses some of the main township roadways, would be to follow Fisherville Road to North Bailey Road and then back to Kings Highway. Just as a very rough estimate, I would say it's probably about 4 or 5 minutes of extra drive time.
Thank you, Ross.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. Questions from the residents here in the township building? Tony, come on up to the mic.
Tony DeSario, 251 Loomis. Is there any grants out there?
There may be. We'll certainly explore those options.
Where you
Once we get an assessment of the condition to determine, grant funding also takes a little longer, so we want to get a cost estimate to see exactly what we're dealing with. What cost? If it if it's an excessive amount in order to repair, because getting a grant will extend the closure for several weeks, months, years, perhaps, not years, several months. So we're gonna have to evaluate the total cost of if we can get something in there that we can, more or less a prefab, not a very long section. It may not be a huge cost to the township, and the value of opening the roadway. We'll have to do a benefit analysis to determine the cost. Most grants, if you start the work before the grant is actually received, it's ineligible. So if we apply for a grant, we would have to wait and keep the road closed until the grant is received. So we're gonna have to evaluate the total cost of the project and compare that to the closure and make a decision based on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Question, no other hands raised here in the township building? Anyone in Zoom? At this time? And we are aware that a sewer extension is to be installed at the upper section of this County Meeting House Road. And timing is everything, so sooner we can have this repaired, the better, of course. Let's get it assessed first and take it from there.
More information to come.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
And let's move on to good and exciting news, right, Chris? All right, Don, go ahead.
Thank you, commissioners. This is a stormwater project that has been discussed before this board at several times in the past. It is a stormwater pipe that was installed many years ago through an individual's property. It's a metal pipe, corrugated metal pipe that over the years has deteriorated. Decades, generations has deteriorated and failed. That has resulted in some sinkholes along the pipe route and some deterioration of the inlet as well. Working with Director Huggins as well as Ross as far as the engineering standpoint, before you is the construction, the easement agreement to allow our township staff access to property. It has been signed by the two property owners, one of whom here this evening. And as soon as the township takes action on that, we'll do the appropriate PA1 call and go out and repair this stormwater failure.
Finally. No, it's sad. Government is slow, but in this case, we're finally getting to it and we're finally taking care of it. So thank you for your patience. I believe she came to about 3 years ago.
Yeah. Started long
Well-
before that. Yeah.
Well, it started before that, but for Mark and I. Good.
I-
Get that?
Thank you. I represent all at this dais, but I wanted to personally apologize to you for this taking so long and all the aggravation that you went through. But I also thank you for your patience and I think I told you that day at the bank, it's a new board of commissioner, it's a new township. So. No, thank you.
Looking forward to the results. All right. No other comments here in the township building? Anyone in Zoom? None of this time. All right. And then with that said, entertain a motion to approve the stormwater easements for Christy Fritsch, located at 250 Seltzer Avenue, and Ralph Gillette, located at 281 Watson Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Evans, second by Commissioner Young. Lorraine, you're just a little shy on that.
That's all
but
right.
That's okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Jane, you got an aye there?
I do.
All right, perfect. My motion passes 5-0. All right, no more sinkholes in your backyard. Woo. All right, next on the agenda, we have first Black Horse Project. Who do we have here representing?
Good evening. Brian Nagel here on behalf of property owner First Black Horse LLC. We're here tonight to discuss the petition for zoning modification for the subject property, which is 32 acres plus gated.
Mhm.
North side of Black.
Yeah, just remember the microphone, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So for the property is located just to the west of the Veterans Hospital, obviously. And it's limited frontage on Black Horse Hill Road and slopes away down and widens and borders the 30 bypass to the north. We spent a fair amount of time with the Planning Commission going over the proposal for the zoning modification. And the document I just handed you is where we ended up, which is the property is located in the R2 zoning district, and it's adjacent to the institutional district, which is obviously the VA
Mhm.
property there to the east of the subject property. So we explored several options to address the issues with the property, which is that effectively it cannot be developed under the R2 zoning. As we went through the process with the Planning Commission, we ended up with a recommendation from the Planning Commission for this R2A zoning that you see before you. What it
I'm
essentially-
sorry, could I ask just one question? You said
Yeah.
it cannot be developed by the R2?
Correct. it
Is there a
cannot-
reason?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons. I can review those,
Okay,
For you,
I don't mean to
and I will.
steer you off there. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the property has a lot of unique elements and that go along with it, including topographical constraints. It's very hilly, slopes down, like I said, to the north to the 30 bypass. There's an easement that cuts across the middle of the property. You can see that on the plan that's on the screen now. The connection to the sewer is over 3,000 feet away. The connection to the water is over 3,000 feet away in a different direction. Because of the narrow entrance to the property, you have to run a long access way to get back to the principal developable area of the property. So what the density under the R2 provides for at this location today would be 58 units, single family. What's proposed is 72 units, single family, which is really just a 16 unit increase. But what's also included in that R2A is to allow townhomes, so you can cluster the development in one area of the property. If you develop the property under the current zoning, if you were able to develop it, you would have to use up more than half of the property. So like I said, it's a little over 32 acres. With the proposal and the 72 townhomes that would be proposed, you would maintain over 20 acres, about 21 acres actually, of open space on the property. So it preserves a lot more of the property while at the same time allowing for a feasible development of the subject property. That's the challenge that we're up against. In reality, even though the R2 for a property that doesn't have constraints, you could get about 56 units. On this property, you can probably not even get 35 units because of the constraints that I mentioned. So it's significantly hampered, and there's no feasible way to do that. One of the things the Planning Commission asked us to look at were, under the ordinance, this is only permitted on properties of 25 acres or more. So one of the things that the Planning Commission asked about was, well, how many properties are there in the R2 that are 25 acres or more? And there are 6 that are, and 2 of them are undeveloped. This is one of them. But the way this is proposed and the way it came out of the Planning Commission as recommended for approval and for the commissioner's consideration, is that this R2A would be zoning that's within the existing R2, and it wouldn't apply. It would only apply to this. There's actually 2 properties here. If you look on that aerial image I gave you, you'll see there's a small property in the front along Black Horse Hill Road, and then there's the larger property that runs down to the 30 bypass. I am going to give you a copy of what you have on the screen. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
there's several different options were looked at in terms of how to correct the problem with the zoning. My client has owned the property for some time, has had discussions with numerous home builders, and we know from those discussions and work at trying to develop the property that it cannot be developed as it's zoned today. So we need some modification to allow for the reasonable use of the property. What you see here is in the ordinance, it allows for a density of 2.25 dwelling units per acre. And that's what you see. This is 2.22 dwelling units per acre that you see on this plan in front of you. So we're asking the commissioners to consider the R2A zoning that was recommended by the Planning Commission to correct these challenges, so we can avoid having to pursue other options in terms of dealing with the zoning problem that we have here for the use of the property. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioners, open it up for questions?
Hold on a second.
He's writing down his notes now. Jane, did you want to make a comment?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Good.
Quick question.
Yes.
The houses that you plan on putting into this area, are they smaller or larger than the ones that are already developed?
That are already developed in what location?
Okay.
Or you mean that are permitted today?
Right. And 2, there's several areas that are developed, but they're single homes. Is that the difference?
Yeah, these would be townhomes as you see on that plan.
Okay, so you can have more than you would with a single home.
Yes. Yes. If you didn't have the topographical and easements and other constraints that you have on this property, you could do straight up the density, just calculating the acreage. would be 56 units.
And they would be townhomes.
Well, under the current zoning, they would be singles. Under this proposal, you would have 72 townhomes.
Me too. Okay. Thank
And they're,
you.
most of them, as you can see, are back down the hill in an open area.
Right. It's just like in one section.
Correct. So what you're essentially doing is you're maintaining a larger area of open space by putting those townhomes in one area of the property rather than having to spread out single family detached homes, which you can't do here because of the topography and other
So
constraints.
this is basically one way in, one way out.
Correct.
No other offshooting roads near there in case there's a problem or,
There's, if you look at the access to the property,
yeah.
it's fairly limited. The other thing I should mention, if you look at the R2A proposed zoning modification, that proposes that the townhomes would be permitted at that 2.25 density by conditional use. So you pass this ordinance, as I know the commissioners are familiar, then my client would have to file a conditional use application. As part of that, upon the filing of that application, my client would agree to a maximum number of units of 72 as is shown on this plan. And that's how we would proceed if the commissioners were to adopt this ordinance.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mark?
Just to clarify, there's nothing there right now.
No, it's vacant parcel.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I have concerns. One is that when that area was designated as R2, I believe it was the intent of the township to keep that not dense in that area. Lot out in that end, you're getting near where people actually have 1 acre lots. The other issue I have is that you're asking, this concept plan says R4 townhouse community. But so you're asking for either an change to R4 or to create an R2A.
That was how the petition was drafted, and the R2A is what sort of came out of the discussion with the planning commission. That's what the planning commission was called.
I love the planning commission. I think we have one of the best planning commissions we've ever had. But I'm really surprised that they sent this on to us. I'm actually shocked because I saw your memo. This is spot zoning. This is just actually a perfect example of spot zoning. And if we made this, created this R2A here, then the other undeveloped R2 land in this township could petition and say, well, you let them have an R2A, you've got to let us have an R2A. I just don't think it opens a Pandora's box that personally I'm not interested in getting involved in, especially when we're in the like really coming up to the end of a long rezoning for this township. And that's all. That's my statement.
Yeah, of course, I'd like to address that statement.
Yeah.
Because I did analyze this, and I've been doing this for a long time. This would not be spot zoning.
I saw your analysis, but
Yeah.
I also saw our solicitor's response to that, and I'm gonna lean into hers.
I don't think your solicitor said it was spot zoning. In fact, I know your solicitor didn't say it was spot zoning. I think your solicitor said someone could argue that it's spot zoning, but my position is you can argue anything. The reality is that if you look at, if it's consistent with the adjacent zoning, then it can't be spot zoning. If it's a large property, essentially, it's very difficult to establish that it's spot zoning. Here, you have both of those factors that mitigate against spot zoning. So all you're really doing is creating a modified designation of the R2 of the existing zoning to allow for townhomes, which essentially establishes a cluster development with townhomes on a property that otherwise can't be developed.
We've spent probably almost 4 years now with the zoning task force.
Yeah.
And we've contemplated all kinds of zoning changes. And R2 is not one of them. And I'm going to lean towards the zoning task force. My opinion is that we don't change zoning in this district.
Let me ask you this too, because I know you applied for a grant. Was it a grant using my name and the previous manager's name for that grant? Now, can this be used for the single family homes? Or was it only tailored for this type of development?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Mr. Mullen, of using your name. I'm not familiar with that, but a grant can go through the township. It doesn't have to, but the grant that was applied for would be for this property for the development that's shown here.
Okay, but it cannot be used for single family?
You couldn't use it for single family because you can't do single family at this location. And the grants for this site.
Okay.
You can't. You're saying, but it's economically not feasible for you to do. Not that you cannot do it.
I don't see those as two different things.
I
And
do.
I know from other cases I've handled that effectively they're not two different things. You have to allow reasonable use of a property for a landowner. And I know you're saying you've looked at your zoning ordinance and you've gone through it in other areas and you haven't looked at the R2. This is a unique circumstance.
Every property is a unique circumstance.
Well, that's true. Actually, the law of Pennsylvania is every property is unique. That's why when you have a buyer and seller in a contract, you have the right of specific performance because no two properties are the same. But this property is unique in ways that I would submit no other property is, in the fact that it doesn't just have the topographical constraints. It doesn't just have the narrow access. It doesn't just have the easement. It also has the sewer. We've got neighbors who are waiting for public sewer to come in who have challenges with sewer there that this would help. So there's a lot of different factors here that make this property unique that create this problem. My client owns the property. My client is not a prospector who's
Would your
looking
client be paying the up to $20,000 per household fee to take on public sewer? Because that's what it costs a homeowner when public sewer comes in, public sewer and water.
that's optional. That doesn't have to be required.
I'm just saying that it's not like,
No, that's a fair
it's a
point.
benefit, but it's not, it's an expensive benefit to many of us. And help me refresh my memory here, because I vaguely remember this from like 4 years ago. So they put your name on it and I don't think they asked, did they?
No.
So they applied for a grant without getting permission here. And I think that the grant was for quote unquote veterans housing. And then it turned into veterans preferred housing. Am I right? Because I'm getting old. My mind doesn't always. All right. So, yeah.
Details, but yes.
Yeah, if the township has an issue, most grants are proposed to run through the municipality. It doesn't have to be done that way. And if the township doesn't want to participate in the grant, that can be changed.
Well, the grant's subject to the property being able to be developed.
Yeah.
Under the change in the zoning.
Right.
And if we don't change the zoning, then the grant can't move forward.
Well, I don't know that I agree with that, Josh. If you don't change the zoning, then it puts my client in a position. We came to the township with this petition, and I said this from the very beginning before I even submitted the petition.
Mm-hmm.
We came to the township to try to work through this issue because my client has no options. The client, as I was just about to say, my client is the legal owner of this property. My client is not a prospective developer who's looking to get the zoning changed so it can then buy the property and move forward. My client had another project that you're very well aware of that came through. It was about to be approved for over 200 units. Apartment
Who was
development.
about to?
Yeah, because I was on the board. We weren't
we-
about to prove anything.
Well, it went pretty far. I wasn't involved at that time,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in reviewing the material, it got pretty far down the path.
It never came to the
You
commission.
never came to the commissioners. I
Well,
don't even know if it went to the planning commission.
But the reason that was being proposed is the same reason here. And that proposal now has been dropped from that number of units to a far cry from that at the 72 units that would allow this property to be developed. So the reason we came with this petition is because the property owner is out of options. So if we don't get some solution to this problem that prevents the property from being developed in a reasonable manner, then we have to seek relief from the court. That's the only option that the client would have. So we're asking.
Well, then I recommend you
Seek
do whatever
relief.
you have to do, because and again, the planning commission should have never sent this to us. That's just my heart feels that way. I think that they made a mistake in sending this to us. And that's all I have to say. So thank you. I'm not the chair of the president of this board, so I don't have the final say, but there have been too many, what's the term? Non-transparent issues involving this all along. And, I feel for the owner, but I can't get on board with this.
And Brian, I believe our issue here is, I mean, all the neighborhood around it are acres, at least an acre of land and whatnot, and then to throw in a townhouse. I think that's what our issue is here. And I understand, you're trying to do this, I'm not going to call it spot zoning. It's just a different rendition, trying to get the amount of houses in there. I believe it would be a perfect location for some single family homes that would match the surrounding area.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, but I think if you look at that aerial that I handed you, the location of the development of the site is pretty. Most of the development is not near any homes. It's all the way to the back
Mhm.
and to the east there, Paul. If you look at it,
Mhm.
and so it's really adjacent to the VA property,
Right.
and not to any homes.
Mhm.
So I don't, because with that proposed development, you're preserving 21 about of 32 and a half acres. You're actually leaving a large area of open space adjacent to where there are any homes, and you're tucking the townhomes against essentially the bypass and the VA property. So I don't think it has that impact at all.
And off the top of your head, even though I'm on the sewer board, do you have any idea of how many homes here that do not have sewer or water that could possibly benefit from a connection?
According to my client, the sewer is all of the homes on Jonathan Drive and most of the homes on Black Horse Hill Road. And of course, the township can make it optional for connection. Doesn't have to require.
No, I'm sorry. If public sewer and water goes by your house, you have to connect, don't you?
That's a township rule that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
That is-
township
It's up to
rule.
the township.
Yeah. This,
If you're within 150 feet.
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah.
And with the zoning that you've looked at for the site, the village, it's squeezing the 5,000 square foot lots, which effectively allows for a cluster type development. The problem is that cluster, because of the same issues, doesn't solve the problem wouldn't solve the problem that my client has with not being able to develop
Mhm.
the parcel.
Um, Commissioner Kennedy, if you're online there, any comments, questions?
No, just interested to see it, like you said, that the planning commission, making the recommendations that we review this. I don't think we have enough information, to move forward in any respect. It seems like there's still a lot of information that we don't have pieces to the puzzle to make any kind of recommendations at this time.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Gene.
Um,
I-
Go ahead,
I-
Brian. I'm sorry. Come on in.
I know this is your work session. If there's information you feel like would help you with looking at this, I understand what you're saying, that you're that you're inclined to say you don't want to do it.
Mhm.
But if there is additional information that would help you, we'd be happy to gather that and bring it back to you. Like I said, we're trying to work with the township to figure out a solution for the challenges of this property.
I
I don't
with-
need anything else.
I agree with that. Let me just reach out. I didn't know if anybody was attending here in the township building that was close to this project. Any questions? None at this time. Anyone in Zoom? Brian, what I'll say is, we will take another look at this. Right now, at this point, we're not too happy with it. So maybe we can think of another option and we can definitely get back to you. But it doesn't look too good right now at this point, but let's sit on it.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. And if you have questions or additional information that would help you, or thoughts of how this problem could be solved that you haven't seen, have Ray or your solicitor reach out to me and let me know. Happy to come back to another meeting. We spent a lot of time on this, so we have to move in some direction at some point in time in the near future. But we would certainly take the time to work with the commissioners to come up with something that would work for the township and for the property owner.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Cheryl, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, sure. Come on up. Have a comment?
Maybe he said, Cheryl Spalding for us, slow down. Maybe he said and I missed it, but what is this property post under the task force zone?
It's to remain as it is, R2.
R
Two.
R2, regular R2.
Right.
Mhm.
As a resident, I have to say to you that I don't consider my problem the fact that he can't make enough money by developing the property under the existing zone. That is not a zoning issue. That's a financial issue that he has, and that's unfortunate for him. But I don't consider that something that we as a township have to do.
Well, and we didn't change the zoning on him after he purchased the property. He purchased it as R2, knowing
That's what I
What he
meant. It
knows.
hasn't, nothing.
Yeah.
nothing has changed.
Township has done nothing to downgrade
No.
the value of his property.
Correct.
It is what it is. And I don't see, as a resident, any reason for the township to step up and improve the value.
Thank you, Cheryl. Oh, no. What's your name?
Joel Swisher. I live at 43 Heron Lane, right down the street from where this proposed development would be.
Okay.
Not that I'm against it, but I just had a few questions or thoughts in my mind as I was seeing what I could see of the plan. I didn't notice any overflow parking for the units. I don't know whether or not they've been in touch with Ray and the fire chief to see turning radius for fire apparatus. I
Hmm.
don't know whether anybody's been in touch with the school district, to see whether in fact school buses would even go down through there. Because if not, there would have to be allowable parking spots up front for parents to bring the kids to drop them off.
Right.
So also a big concern is the depth of the driveways. Because you always see smaller townhomes, the cars stick out over top of the sidewalks. The kids and the parents have to walk out on the street, which presents a danger to everybody.
Mhm.
So that your planning commission may have done due diligence, but they're just things would come to my mind if I was looking at the plan. So, thanks.
Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a commercial parking ordinance amending the commercial parking on the street pertaining to commercial vehicles.
I guess since Tom Esty didn't want to talk about it,
He booked.
and Kristen left me here by myself. Commission, yeah, well, I'm not sure about that, but commissioners, we brought this up at a previous work session, and for years, I know Commissioner Kennedy, has been one to bring forth some concerns and some other residents about a couple things. One being commercial vehicles parked on residential streets. And I think even more of an issue or more occurrences are utility trailers and landscaping type trailers parked on residential streets, either attached to a vehicle or unhitched. They really do cause site obstructions and site concerns.
Come on in. Come on in.
So we, myself and the chief worked with Kristen Camp. We looked at a couple other municipalities' ordinances, and we have a proposed ordinance in front of you. It's fairly short, and basically the couple of highlights to pull out of it. To mention it'd be unlawful to park a commercial vehicle in township other than temporarily. Now, we did allow for people doing work at homes, contractors doing work, landscapers doing work. So basically you can temporarily park, load and unload, and have these vehicles while you're specifically operating at somebody's home. And then it goes into some definitions of what a commercial vehicle is. And I would ask the chief to talk about that because most of that comes right out of the vehicle code. I do.
Evening, everyone.
Evening, chief.
So I could go through a lengthy explanation of what a commercial vehicle is. It's based on the gross vehicle weight. Vehicles designed to transport 16 or more passengers. If the vehicle is a school bus, if the vehicle is transporting hazardous materials. The definition of vehicle is very broad, and it applies to a wide range of vehicles. And I think the way Solicitor Camp worded it in the proposed ordinance, I think it covers all of those things, and it's consistent with the definition of commercial vehicle in the vehicle code. Now, with that said, while some commercial vehicles are not defined as emergency vehicles under the vehicle code, the drivers of some of those vehicles are considered emergency service responders. For example, towing and recovery personnel, highway maintenance and construction personnel. So while the definition of commercial vehicle is well explained, the driver of those vehicles, and some of them bring those vehicles home with them because they are considered emergency service responders, so that when they're needed, again, for example, a tow truck driver, they could respond directly from their home rather than have to drive to their place of business, pick up a truck, and then respond to the crash site to remove vehicles, to clear roads.
The only other thing I would add that we did add outside the motor vehicle would be any motor vehicle towing a trailer or another vehicle or with a trailer or other vehicle attached to it for towing and an unattached trailer. We did add wording specifically what it doesn't apply to. Shall not apply to a small truck or van with no more than 2 axles parked at a residence or place of business. Meaning, just because a vehicle is a pickup truck, say a 3,500, 1,500, and it has a construction sticker on the side of it, that would not be violating. It's really focused on those defined commercial vehicles in the vehicle code and vehicles hauling utility trailers or a trailer dropped in the road.
Which is probably the biggest complaint in the time that I've been here that we receive. It's trailers that are, dislodged, vehicles that are, I mean, they're big and they're left there for extended periods.
What types of trailer? Like, what are we talking? Like a landscape trailer, or are we talking?
Yeah, a landscape trailer, a utility trailer that hauls snowmobiles, as an example.
Okay.
And again, you got to remember, if just like we have done when we've had ordinances for other parking issues or the recreational vehicle, if somebody's, I'll use campers as an example, or an RV. If somebody's just come back from a long trip or preparing for a long trip, they're parked in their driveway, they're loading their supplies, they're leaving the next day or they're leaving that weekend. What typically would happen the first time an inspector's seen it, they would either stop by and speak to the resident or contact the resident. If we couldn't make contact, we would send a notice that would give 30 days. And on that notice, it would say, please call the township to discuss. And if that person explained what was going on, then that wouldn't be a violation of the ordinance. So
Okay.
I think to your point, if you were doing mulch and your utility trailer attached to your vehicle was in front of your house for the weekend, unloading that mulch, as long as it was parked appropriately otherwise, to me, that would not be a violation.
So who enforces this? Is this a code or is this a police?
So that's a good question. I absolutely pass the buck to the police on this. But
See, here's my concern is somebody calls,
Yeah.
I'm unloading mulch in front of my house.
Yeah.
Somebody calls, the police come out. Are they ticketing that person right away?
So there's a provision under the vehicle code, and the parking regs under the vehicle code are probably about 4 pages long. But the catch-all is if the vehicle is parked in such a manner that it's creating a hazard or a public safety, concern, we could require the owner to remove the vehicle. If the property owner, or vehicle owner refuses to, then we would have the authority. If we establish the requirements of the vehicle code, which again, the vehicle would be parked in such a manner as creating a hazard.
if I could,
Do that.
I was going to say, if I could, I'll give you an example of how we handle it today. Typically, complaints, not all complaints, but most complaints come to my office, whether it's a police issue or not, because people don't know, right? Unless it's an obvious police issue. Typically what happens if it's a vehicle on the roadway today, say a car is disabled on the roadway, that's a police issue. Those complaints always come to my office first. What I do is usually I contact one of the sergeants, say, hey, XY vehicle's parked at XY place. The police 99% of the time go to contact the owner, tell the owner you have 10 days to move the vehicle. And if they don't, then they let me know that. And if they don't, then they may follow through with a citation. So the police department and my department have a very close contact, and we communicate on those ones that involve both of us. So I think to the chief's point, I don't think you would see this massive influx in the police running around ticketing vehicles. Not to mention, I was hesitant about it being a police enforcement issue because they obviously have much more important things to do. The problem is we felt this was the best way to be able to have that leniency and that cooperation with the public as opposed to being a zoning or a property maintenance issue.
Yeah, the rule of thumb has always been if the vehicle is on a highway or traffic way or any public right of way, it's a police issue. If it's on the property, for example, if someone abandons a vehicle in their backyard, then it becomes
I guess, so we've gone back and forth. There's been many of these proposed over the years, and the Board of Commissioners has declined every time to to do this. This is better because before it included like F-250s that had construction things on on their trucks. So, we didn't want to discourage. I'm just afraid of we're looking for a solution for a problem that's not there or there township wide. Is there just areas that this is a problem that we can just address those, or is it a rampant problem that we're experiencing everywhere?
Well, here, the bottom line is, like, we work with these folks. Like, if a vehicle is parked somewhere and it shouldn't be there, like, we make every effort that we can to work with the vehicle owner to have it removed without taking some form of enforcement action. What this ordinance will allow us to do is take it one step beyond what the vehicle code allows us to do to suit or meet the needs of the township. And again, I don't think it's going to create a problem where we're gonna receive more calls or run into more situations where we may potentially have to cite under the ordinance.
Yes, so you didn't answer my question. Is this one area or is this a problem all over the township?
I would say actually no. The truth is no. Do we see it maybe more of a hazard when it does occur on a smaller or more narrow street, like in Brandywine Homes or Carver Court? The answer would be yes. However, it does occur on streets, Municipal Drive, these type of neighborhoods, Ingleside Village, those type of places. So I think to your point, yes and no. Some of them are just more of a hazard, but addressing it street by street would be more difficult, and I don't think would resolve the issue.
It's not a rampant.
And did I hear you right that there is an enforcement mechanism currently?
There is under the vehicle code, but it doesn't address some of the issues that are trying to be addressed in the ordinance. And we're going to see more of these type of issues now because, we're in that landscaping mulch delivery time of year. So,
but at the same time, you said you're not going to cite for somebody that's just one day or maybe one day leaves, come back the next day.
Unless the vehicle is creating a public safety hazard where it has to be removed.
But you have the authority today to do that if it's creating a public hazard.
Correct.
I just think this is maybe a solution in search of a problem.
I'm only being halfway facetious with this. If we had this code, would we have been able to do something about the tractor trailers that were unloading in front of Colonial Hyundai again today? In the middle of the road and then later on the side of the road. And this is every week, day and night, with, it's dark. Can't see this thing sitting in the middle of the road. I'm sorry. I'm so perturbed about this.
So
Sorry.
I've been here. This has been a long-standing issue. And
we just fine them.
Well, we have cited parts delivery vehicles, other service vehicles that park along the shoulder of the road. And as you're leaving Wedgwood, you can't see because your view is completely obstructed. So we've made those people move those vehicles, or in situations we have cited those drivers. We had meetings with the owner of Colonial Hyundai and discussions with staff. And at the time, there was no requirement in zoning.
Other approved land development
For them to require, for them to have off-street unloading. So when they're parked in that center turn lane, we had issues with prosecution because that was never a township requirement for that dealership, but it is now. Right?
for the habitual offenders.
Yeah.
So that changes things now. And I have no problem charging drivers who refuse to offload on the property versus in that center turn. we had problems with the district justice at the time and prosecuting those cases, again, because the fallback from the owner and the delivery vehicles was, well, the township didn't require us to do it
Yeah.
in the dealership's parking lot. So this is the only real option we have, other than offloading them somewhere and then somehow getting them back to the dealership. Again, Ray and I discussed this earlier today. That has changed, so we can revisit that. And we,
That's
we
great.
will.
I do remember being at the planning commission when they came in to, ask to add some EV charging stations in the back that ended up being a complete rebuild without land development and things like that. But suggesting they did anything wrong here. But I do remember in those discussions them saying, well, when we do this, then we'll have room to unload our cars in our new lot. Yet, it's
We have never, the police department has never thought it was a good idea.
yeah, no, I'm
Like,
sure.
But, we have to take these cases before district justice.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not gonna have my officers continue to go to hearing after hearing and have those charges dropped.
Yeah. Oh no.
Because then that also has an effect on other cases that we
Yeah.
bring there. It becomes a reputation problem for the
Oh
department.
yeah.
But again, now that it's changed, we will certainly revisit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just Commissioner, right? Commissioner Young, I agree with you. Obviously I was probably the one that brought every one of these ordinance to you.
Mr. Redcheck was there too.
Yeah. So, as you know, we're just reacting to the complaints that we get. And obviously I have no issues if the board feels that's overbearing or, not an issue. I just feel I did my job. If you guys aren't happy with that, that's certainly your pleasure.
I guess my concern is there are people, and I understand that Brandywine Homes and Carver Court are tight. That they weren't built to today's standards, but there are people who make a living landscaping that live in there, that there is no other option for them other than they would have to find a location somewhere else, I guess, to rent to leave their place. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are these people's livelihoods, and there's nowhere else for them to go in that neighborhood.
I absolutely, and trust me, I'm not belaboring it. My only comment to that would be, and because I've ran into it, we have done the same thing to the tractor and trailer drivers that live in residential neighborhoods, and their argument to me was the same thing. You can cite me, I'll go to court, I'll do it every time because that's how I live.
The tractor and trailer to me is a little bit different because it's a heavier vehicle with it's massive, and it's our roads aren't designed in neighborhood roads aren't designed to handle tractor and trailers. A landscaping, an F-150 with a trailer behind it that has a lawnmower on it that lives there. I guess I'm just a little hesitant to beat up on someone who has a small business that's they're in, like Brandywine Homes. There's no way they can park a truck and a trailer in their driveway. There's no possible way they can do that.
At the risk of further belaboring this, I could tell you 99.9% of the complaints of this nature that we get, the vehicle is not creating a hazard. It's unsightly.
Yeah.
And the person just doesn't want to see it parked there. That's the majority of the complaints we
Yeah.
receive. That's just the bottom line.
Are they abandoned or are they just daily use type of trailers?
Both. In all honesty, both. Some of the complaints that we have tried to follow up on are habitually there. So I'm not saying they're there all the time, but maybe they're a bigger trailer and they don't need it that week. Those type of things.
I'm reticent to beat up on somebody that has a small business that lives in a neighborhood that was constructed long before today's standards. So, and I just looks are one thing versus safety. If it was that we can't get a fire truck through, we can't get these vehicles through, emergency vehicles, then I'd be all for it. I hate to beat up on somebody that lives in a older neighborhood that can't go anywhere else.
And the vehicle code covers us for the safety piece.
Right.
Good. Lorraine, any comments?
Not at this.
Jane?
Well, I think it'd be good if we did have some type of ordinances in place and not have them in place, because when you need them, then you can use them. But just because they're there, that doesn't mean that it has to apply to everyone in every situation. Because when you have a problem, if you have something substantial to support you in your argument to remediate that problem, then you have it. But to take the time to have to go back and, have some type of code reinforcement or have something done. So what's the harm in having it in place if it's needed? You
guess,
may
Jane,
never,
To point, there was a gentleman years ago that was cited for his motorhome on his property. And what he did was he drove around and he found 32 people that also had the same thing and brought it to the codes department. So if it's on the books and code enforcement says, we don't really think it's a problem. Well, if somebody brings the complaint to them, they have to enforce it, or the police, same thing. So this gentleman, his neighbor complained. He had a motorhome that was parked like it shouldn't be in the ordinance. And when he got a citation, he drove around the entire township and he found everybody with a motorhome that had the same type of thing. And so we went from one citation because of a neighbor complaint to 32 citations.
Wow.
So, if it's on the books, it gets enforced. So,
Yeah.
You can't have it on the books and then just say, well, we're not going to enforce it. So
we know with COVID, everybody was from home and all types of vehicles were coming home with people. And that was a problem then, so we got past that. I know in our neighborhood, again, being a one-way narrow street, we have one area, particularly when you're coming out of the exit of Carver's Court, the family that lives there are multiple cars parked right at that entrance and exit. And it's like a trailer. And then there's probably a big work truck of some sort. And it's an obstruction. I mean, to most people, your visibility, but again, where would they park? So what do you do in that situation when it's just an accident or incident waiting to happen?
I think if there's visibility issues, then you can enforce that under today's ordinances. You don't need a new ordinance to do that. If you really can't see around the trailer or the truck, then the township, the code enforcement or the police can ask them to move it or cite them for not moving it. If it's a visual issue versus just having a trailer on the street.
Good comments all around. When I reach out to the township folks here, any comments? Good discussion. None at this time. Anyone in Zoom? This time. Right, why don't we just kind of revisit this? If there's something else to do with it, it sounds like what's on the books now kind of prevents worst case scenarios. We are about safety and health of our residents. So if we can tailor it to that, Josh has brought up some excellent points.
And if there's somebody that's truly abandoned, like if we're talking abandoned things, I'm absolutely in favor of getting abandoned trailers or abandoned, motorhomes or whatever that is off the street, But if it's something that people use daily or weekly or for their business, I'm just not willing to upset that.
If we change anything, I just want to be able to put my boat back in my driveway. Did I say that at a public meeting?
Will you get it out of my driveway, please?
All right. Let's move on from that. We have FC Delco Municipal Park West proposal. Who do we have for this?
Thank you, commissioners. We do have some representatives here for our
Yes.
proposal.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in quite some time.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good evening. Chuck Dobson, Inland Design. I'm here with representatives from Pi Garcia and Scott McCloskey from FC Delco. I don't plan to do most of the talking. I think Pi will probably do it because he's got a lot of history. But just by way of background, FC Delco has been partnering with Callan Township for the last 20 plus years for soccer programs up at the ball fields off of 70 New Jersey Avenue, which is ironically adjacent to the Black Horse Hill Road project you just talked about. But nevertheless, not connected. So anyway, we've done some work with FC Delco in the past. They reached out to us and said, hey, you know, we're interested in trying to maybe work with Callan Township to improve the fields so that it can, you know, because right now they're grass fields. I mean, they are lit. Parking's kind of haphazard up there. And I know you have some of your public works facilities up there as well. So what their goal would be is to have a discussion with Callan Township to see if there's interest in maybe creating an all-weather surface up there for 2 potential fields, improve and enhance the lighting that's already there, and create probably a more uniform and probably a safer parking layout on the property to not only facilitate public works vehicles getting in and out, but also the people who go there mostly on weekends or in the evenings to just enjoy the field. So we think it's a good idea, but I think I'll let Pi kind of give some of the background and just by they have gone to the Park and Rec Board, and the Park and Rec Board seemed very much in favor of it. So obviously our next step is to come to you folks, and pending the outcome of this discussion, we'll figure out what our next step is.
Okay.
So my name is Pi Garcia. Thank you for having us.
Welcome.
Our club has been in existence since 1982. Spirit United Soccer Club, merged with FC Delco, much larger program. We service 700 kids in this area. City program with, you know, Coachville, currently our inner city program that we run at Callan Park 2 days a week. Takes about 50 kids. We take the high school kids that are at Coachville High School, and they are the coaches, and then we the coaches. The director of JT, we partner with JT Dorsey Foundation, who JT Dorsey is a grad of Coachville High School, and our director in this area is also a grad. So, in enhancing, there's a bit of a history of us, national championships, regional championships, state championships. We're all over the map, all over the country. But this area that we would like to enhance gives us more of, we have players that play national team professionally, up and down the gamut, given tons of money and financial folks and families that need it. Over the past 5 years, given out $300,000 in financial assistance. Our goal is to not having financial. So part of a current clinic that we do is we currently have 50 kids. They come in, they play one night during the week. The high school kids come in, some of our coaches come in, and our directors come in to work with them for 2 hours a day. We want to expand that, obviously. Field use, etc. Good. So this is what we propose all other. Currently, right now, we get about 5 to 6 months out of Callan Park, just rain, snow, fields, rest, summertime. They burn. But by having it would give us more of a 12-month. Everyone talks about how cold it is when you go outside and play. Put on hat, gloves, and you start sweating. Kids these days, they haven't taken it off, and they're. But this would improve everything that we got in our program and currently part. Run the program. Currently, already have lights there. Are familiar and not familiar, kind of down like hill and it's surrounded by trees. So lighting and the new lighting is now just centered down, goes straight down. Light pollution isn't currently an issue. We would improve that. Along with right now, Chuck had mentioned earlier, parking's going to come in, find spots.
Right.
To create better situation.
Would that be paved parking or would it be stone still? Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
What type of
Nice.
investment are we looking?
Wow.
Wow.
That was $3 to $4 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. Scott McCloskey, I'm in charge of the board.
Sometimes I forget about the mic
I'm
as
here to
well.
answer this. Financial questions.
Holy moly.
So what you see here proposed is between 3 and 4 million, and as Chuck mentioned, depending on the amount of development that we're going to require, that's where the sliding scale
Mhm.
comes into play.
Do you currently have 2 fields?
1.5.
Okay.
This is a refined layout. Variety of size fields there that I think that the programs, they may do with it, they best with it,
Mhm.
but this would allow something that's a little closer to regulation. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Thank you. So my voice carries.
He is loud.
Yeah.
He might be picking up.
No, so these fields would be a little bit closer to regulation, and I think it would probably open up more opportunities for FC Delco to basically have other groups come in here for tournaments and whatnot, and really just enhance the use of the property for the benefit of the community.
Would these be, I'm going to sound stupid now, which I do frequently. Tony can tell you that. I always sound stupid. But these would be candy canes.
Yeah.
These would be like bubble domes, right?
No dome at all.
No.
No dome at all?
Oh, this
open
is-
air.
Yeah.
Oh, because when you said
Open.
all year.
AstroTurf. No, AstroTurf.
Oh, so it'd be AstroTurf.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they would be. Yeah,
It's a stormwater issue.
Okay.
Field turf, not astro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
okay. Field. Okay.
Yeah, AstroTurf is very 1970s. I think this is going to be certainly a better technology.
Now you know where I grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, you and I both.
Are they accessible to the public when you're not using them, or would they be roped off?
So currently, it is open to. So when we're not there, we don't have,
Mhm.
is allowed to.
Uh-huh.
Currently, it would stay the same.
Okay.
We have, which, again, a bunch of the kids from the Coatesville soccer team, on weekends or nights or just random times they show up.
Mhm.
You have practices. They're like, oh, we'll come back later.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing.
Nice.
They basically know from 5 to there before, after school,
Mhm.
weekend.
It is kind of a hidden place. Like if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there.
Well, I think that it's funny you mentioned that, Mr. Commissioner, because I know when FC Delco presented to the Park and Rec Board, they were like, "We have a what?" So it's so hidden that it's kind of like a little treasure in Cal Township.
Nicely said.
Yes.
I like that.
I'm a supervisor. I get it.
Count Township is a nice little treasure. So, no,
Now, I Tony in the back there, we named the bioswale after Tony.
yes.
How would this affect it? Because it was recently installed, what, about 2 years ago at this point?
Right. So that would be one of the engineering things we're going to have to discover. I mean, we have no detailed survey on the property yet,
Okay.
so we need to get that. Obviously, we would
Just a concept.
interface with Callan Town to understand
Yeah.
what was done previously, and also explore opportunities to maybe even improve what's there now.
Mhm.
I do know that one of the benefits of the field turf is that the underlayment is usually clean stone, so that provides a really good opportunity for significant volume of stormwater management to be held there.
Mhm.
Without creating open air basins or really, and I would say heavily engineered infrastructure, be it like seepage beds and things like that.
Mhm.
But you know, to the extent that that swale would remain, I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities to enhance it even further to improve water quality that for any of the stormwater runoff that goes through there. So I think I mean, we obviously have a lot of homework to do relative to the engineering of this, and which is why we're here tonight. Because if the answer was a flat no, then we would know we wouldn't pursue it. But if there's interest, then I think FC Delco would be like, yeah, let's take the next step. I mean, they've engaged us initially to do a sketch. Then we would probably engage a little further just to do some fact finding, and then probably come up with a more detailed plan to present it to the Township Planning Commission, Park and Rec Board, and the commissioners.
We currently have an agreement, right? Between us and your group. How long is that lease agreement for?
So the initial agreement that expired.
Okay.
Nothing done.
Automatically.
Would you want to renegotiate that with that type of investment, or how would that work?
Yeah, I think with putting in $3 to $4 million.
Yeah.
I think you want to talk to Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any issue. I think we should maybe negotiate an agreement prior to you spending any kind of significant money.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're both on the same page, and then move forward with land development after that. Because I'd hate to see it do land development and then we can't come to an agreement on land use.
Totally agree. I think it's a very, very sound course of action.
Don, is that something you can work on?
We did have the agreement up when this proposal initially came in. I'm trying to access it currently, but we can certainly schedule time to sit down, involve our solicitor to take a look at it, have the input from the commissioners, and figure that out first. I think that's a great first step.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think
Yeah.
we're in agreement to move forward. I think we should just hammer out an agreement so that we all know what we're looking at.
Yeah, the ground rules are very important here. There's a lot of investment being talked about, and the township. I mean, there's liability. There's a variety of issues. I'm sure Kristen will go through, and she's going to pick out every one of them and make sure the town is protected in any agreement that's ultimately agreed to.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's great, and
I think Mark wants the domes, though.
Oh no,
Oh, Jack.
absolutely no doubt.
Crown.
Now, when the years I was dating my wife and still living in New York, and I parked on Pier 40 on the West Side Highway because I lived right across the street, and Pier 40 had been turned into parking up here. You know what I'm talking
My
about.
son plays on the NYU men's soccer team.
Oh my God, that's great. The whole, I mean, it's a massive pier.
Yeah.
And it's all soccer and baseball fields.
Yep.
And I'd sometimes roll in there at 2 a.m. and across, it's a 5-minute walk, but sometimes at 2 a.m, New York, you want to but I'd come down, there's all this action and all the lights and everyone's having a great time.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this. And, maybe we can, do some cross promotion here, promote you, get you up on the walls here, and spread the word that Count Township's the place to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think FC Delco, their track record speaks for themselves.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Community involvement, just engaging the young folks, kind of getting away from their phones and the screens and all that kind of good stuff is these days probably more important than ever. I really, I appreciate our partnership with them very much.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Special time.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell them good luck up there. It's great. Oh, thank you.
Good to see you again. Take care.
All right.
I think we do have a resident question.
Yeah. Wow, 3 to 4
Yeah.
million?
Sorry, I think the
All
question
right,
was
so
who
Tony,
financed?
come on up.
Right, not us.
Our resident Tony.
He's ready to play soccer.
How do you make it? How do you make it back? Like join your gym or whatever.
Yeah.
How
Yep.
they-
Yeah. So we have reserves to cover the cost of the development that's needed upfront. We run tournaments. We have
Okay.
some of the largest tournaments in the country that we run.
Okay.
Big one, Memorial Day weekend. By having these fields available to us, we can expand those tournaments, and that's how and replenish those.
All right, that's why I was interested.
Yeah. We're not looking for any taxpayer.
Oh, yeah.
Understood. Yes.
Thank you.
We have another question in the back here.
Do come up.
Come on up to the mic.
Thank-
A question, actually, an offer to help them the way we can. I'm here representing Happy Days Diner. and
Happy Days Diner.
Diner,
Okay.
across the street,
Yes.
and celebrating our 20th year of anniversary in Cannon Township. I would love to extend my help, soccer team players, in any way, also extend our help and donation to the township in any way we can. And as a token of appreciation for all your I've been here for 21 years, but we opened 20 years, for sure. This has been a great township. Love it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
seriously.
you. Thank you.
New one.
So when I first laid down the plans for Happy Days,
Oh,
but really, I'm a soccer fan, and anytime with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that.
Appreciate
Oh,
that.
this is great. This is how it works. Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Take care, gentlemen.
Hey, if you not do anything after midnight, come on back. We'll still be here. Midnight.
And I will say about Happy Days, the same waitresses are still there from a decade ago. Yes, that's
That's great. New owners.
Really, township, I can't
Yeah.
mhm. Yes.
Great.
It's across.
Hmm.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And give me give a shout out to Ray, your waitress there. Yeah, she waits. I know so many of them, but Ray was the last one who waited for on me. So
All right.
It was supposed to be.
no, thank you. All right. Have the Chester County Chiefs Association Mutual Aid Plan. Who do we have presenting this?
Chief.
I would assume the chief.
So commissioners, different versions of this plan have been around for almost 5 years. It was developed in part due to the
Is Jane?
Jane?
I'm on the Zoom.
to the civil unrest, you know.
No, I mean,
Jane?
Jane, you're
you wanna
not
hit the
muted.
mute?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. She's so excited.
wearing off.
You're back on. You're back. Mute, 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 Jane, mute.
Want me to start from the top?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know you'd started.
So different versions of this plan have been around for several years, and again, it was developed in part to deal with the fallout from the situation with George Floyd back in 2020, and in the interest of time, the purpose of the plan is to establish uniform procedures for Chester County law enforcement agencies when requesting and/or contributing aid or assistance during a pre-planned mutual aid situation or county rapid response emergency. At one time, the county had a MERT team, which was supposed to respond to major incidents, and it was standing for Major Incident Response Team, made up of police officers from multiple agencies throughout the county. I don't know that the team was ever fully organized or funded to address the kind of problems that could potentially come up. So that team was disbanded. And this mutual aid plan will, in essence, take over where the MERT plan left off. But again, with more organization, more training, more equipment, more oversight. And the Chiefs Association thought, especially given the current geopolitical climate and the potential for civil unrest during elections, and the Eagles Super Bowl win, some municipalities had issues, that now is a good time to enact the plan. So it's been approved by the current Chester County District Attorney. Solicitor Camp has reviewed the plan. Any township or municipal solicitor throughout the county had an opportunity to weigh in just to make sure that all of the legalities and workers' comp issues, all of those things were properly addressed, so that if we were to either have departments come here or if we needed to assist because it overwhelmed another municipality's capabilities, that all of those things would be properly addressed. So I know you're not voting on it tonight, but that's kind of the essence of the current plan.
Are these pre-planned or is this like something that pops up?
Both.
Okay. How would that work if, let's say, it's not a pre-planned thing? Would you call in officers, or how does that?
Yeah, and you know what? The Municipal Police Jurisdiction Act has been around for a long time. And under that act, like, we could provide services to other municipalities and we could ask for assistance here as well, which we do all the time. This is for larger scale incidents that you need a larger force to deal with, as opposed to, just hoping that surrounding municipalities have enough people working. So it's called the mutual aid plan, but it's actually kind of a rapid response team plan. And I think the number is around 80 officers that they plan to have trained, equipped, prepared, and then there'll be ongoing training. Because we have found that when situations occur, you respond the way you're trained. So again, there'll be more leadership, more organization, and a team that's actually well prepared, rather than just coming in like Keystone Cops to deal with the situation either at hand or anticipated.
Who would be doing the training?
So the county, the Pennsylvania State Police has already done a 2-day training last fall.
Right.
An agency that size is normally independent and deals with large scale incidents all the time. So the training was excellent. But again, there'll also be ongoing training.
I'm not trying to, but the way you run your shop is, I think, light years ahead of what many of these other townships are doing. So I'm hoping that you have some sort of a position in here where they're getting the message.
Yeah, there'll be a command structure to the team. Like, we have officers assigned to the county emergency response team, and they train monthly. And there's a oversight committee made up of chiefs. I'm not on the current committee, but I was on the previous one. And the same will hold true for this new rapid response team.
Thank you. And again, we're so lucky we have you.
I appreciate that. Any questions? Any other questions? Concerns?
Commissioners?
Is this being used now? This process, or are we working up to get it going?
Well, right now, the County Chiefs of Police Association everyone is going through the same process as we are here tonight to get their elected of buy-in or not
Okay.
on the concept. But in discussions with the county, Department of Emergency Services, like there's a commitment to actually do it right this time.
Okay, but it's not active at this point.
Not this version.
Okay.
And it won't be until every municipality has an opportunity to go through the approval process like we're going through now.
Is this
Thank you very
municipalities with
much.
police or is this all municipal? Chester County. Like take West Bradford, for example. Are you going to them with the same proposal or?
No.
Okay. So it's just
It's a
municipalities.
mutual aid plan amongst
The police.
municipal police
Okay.
departments. Yeah, the municipalities that have.
Okay.
Yeah, because West Bradford is serviced by the state.
Right.
Now they will be party to this, as will any other
Oh, good.
state, federal, or other local agency that are called in to respond if this plan is activated.
Okay. Because they fall under the state police jurisdiction?
West Bradford?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I think it's to Mark's point, regardless of me and the way we run this department, the County Chiefs Association just want to ensure that regardless of where there is civil unrest or need for a rapid response team, it's done in an organized. I mean, there's just too much at stake and zero tolerance for anything other than professional services.
And I do see there's 25 police departments listed in this document.
I'm sorry?
There's 25 police departments listed in this, including Westchester University Police Department. All right.
Thank you.
I'll reach out here to the township. Any residents have any comments, questions? Feel safer already, Tony? All right, anyone in Zoom? All right, you want to put this on the next agenda if we need to
Absolutely.
approve it and sign it? And
That'll
move
be
it
on the
forward?
May 29th business meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And Ray, you're not going to let go of that phone, right? All right, the Spagman Davis Farm Art in the Park. Yeah. Tony?
No, it's the week following Memorial Day. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Who do we have to speak about? Abby?
Yeah, I'll be real quick. So I think all are aware that last year was the first year we did art in the park, and it was very popular, but it was mostly geared toward kids. So this year, Parks and Rec is interested in adding a couple of events geared toward older kids, teens, and adults. And one of them is going to be a photography class, and the price will be subsidized. We want to keep it really affordable, really minimal to make sure people actually attend. You'll be able to use your phone or your camera, and we have engaged a professional photographer who is, among other places, doing classes at Longwood. His favorite subject matter is architecture, but originally when we talked to him, we were talking about doing the park or the meadow or more like plant nature photography. And then we started talking about Spagman. And so Parks and Rec is hoping for permission from the board to host an event up there. The details were in the memo that you received in terms of date and time. And if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think it should be a smallish group, easily controllable. I don't think anyone's going to, well, anyway, up to you. So feel free to ask any questions you have.
I've been hoping to have an artist meadow there for a long time. I just think that this is a brilliant use of a day at the park, or a month at the park. So,
And I should say, if we're not allowed to use the farm, we'll still do the class somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if we are allowed to use the farm, provide a lot of great potential entries to our community day art show.
Oh my God, yes, yes.
Perfect.
What day of the week is the 16th? 'Cause
I think they're both Saturdays.
I want to come to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds like fun.
Yes, we did Saturday, and then the rain day is the following Saturday, August 23rd. And we did 6 to 8 p.m. So it'll be magic hour and
Okay.
excellent photo opportunities.
I'll get you my deposit.
And the the parking should not be an issue.
I think we can park right on site with
Yeah.
that limited number of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and find ways if you had to go up behind the barn or whatever, just so that you're not in the sight line of some of the.
Absolutely.
And I think it's great.
Excellent idea.
It sounds nice.
It's a discussion item, but I think we're all in favor anyway.
Yes.
Given that it's fairly low use.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Got that.
And I will,
Yay.
I will ask residents here, anyone want to join in? Questions? I want to be part of this. They're all jumping up and down. All right, anyone in Zoom? They're all jumping up and down.
Yes.
I know that. Okay. Sounds good.
The three of them just knocked each other over, bouncing up and down.
All right. Sure. That's an easy one. Friends of Spackman Farm, the alcohol beverage use request, and this is the picnic date, right? June 28th?
Yes.
All right, sweet.
So I believe that may have been a earlier version of an agenda, so I apologize about that.
Oh, did I read that?
It is
I
not
did
the
read
Friends of, that's the,
Yeah. It's
the
just the
newly
Spackman
formed
Farm.
nonprofit organization partnered with the township for the improvement of the Spackman Davis Farm property. This is a request from Historic Commission, who has submitted a permit for consideration and approval to appropriate staff for the sophomore event of the picnic at the Spackman Davis Farm. As this board may recall, last year was the first year for the event, and there was
Thank you, Abby.
Yeah.
a proposal brought forward to allow the use of alcohol in township parks, supplement the picnic activities. The event itself is a picnic as it's described at the historic farm property. This year it will be hosted by the Historical Commission. The site location as proposed in the permit application has changed. Last year was along the driveway. This year it will be up at, excuse me, at the, up in the, what's being called the Picnic Grove on the property. A great deal of work's going into improving that property and making that location acceptable. A couple of the questions on the permit have been resolved largely. I think we'll be able to finalize that well before the 30-day requirement in the newly established MOU. Of course, for the second annual event, the group is interested in once again requesting the board's consideration for the use of alcoholic beverages at the park property. The current township ordinance requires it prohibits the use of alcohol on township park property, except by the exception of the commissioners grant approval. So at this point, that's the discussion before the board this evening is consider that request. The event itself this year is June 28th. That is a Saturday at the Spackman Davis Farm. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I'm able to at this time. Go forward.
Commissioners, questions, comments?
I'll just, I'll piggyback on that one. I've been piggybacking a lot the last couple of days, haven't I? But yeah, last year was definitely, we were a test, see if this would work. And I think the proof of concept was done well. We had a very good event. It was a safe event. It was mostly adults and everyone had a good time. But the biggest negative comment was it's hard to get up to those restrooms. And the second biggest negative comment was, boy, if you had wine here we would have stayed longer. Our donations would have been bigger. So, as you know, from the historical commission's feelings are that it would be a great benefit to have wine and or beer sales at this event. And we're very far into the planning process. I mean, we just had another meeting tonight, and everything's in there. There's two options. The caterer who's going to be doing this can provide a bartender, who's fully accredited, or we could go through a winery or a small brewery who also have their people who are accredited and check on things. And I'm not a fan of drunk people running around. And I don't think, I think that the proof of concept, again, I don't think that would be a problem here. So that's all.
Comments?
No, I've been there. It's a great place. And I guess I'll always have concerns, but my questions more are leaning toward why don't we try it? Because you won't know if it's going to work. So I'm leaning more to a yes when we have to.
We're voting tonight. Or is this just a discussion?
Discussion.
Have it just as a discussion, of course, based on the outcome of that discussion, more than happy to, a couple of the questions that we would have to finalize regarding insurance. Able to follow up with them to get some of the firmer details in place associated with that. So at the next meeting, when the board would like to consider a vote, we would have that information available. As of last year, prior to the vote, did engage with our insurance provider, and they did not feel additional coverage would be required above and beyond what we have for this event as is. They simply would want to be made aware. We would just confirm that is the case, and ready to move forward at the next meeting for a vote.
Jane?
Just wonder, with the partnership that we now have, would they be required to have additional coverage for these type of events as well?
Are you speaking of the Friends of? They're not actually listing this. I believe they're going to have a donation table there.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Okay.
Yeah, but this is actually put on by our historical commission.
Okay.
The hysterical commission.
And just, I think the only concerns is, the license, insurance, being allowed.
We would absolutely require any provider of alcoholic beverages provide to the township all the necessary required insurance, certificates, certifications, and the like. They would not be eligible to provide alcohol on township property if the board would approve without first providing all that information. So we have that on file and maintain that for the event.
Okay. And are we just speaking about wine?
I think wine and craft beer, but that could be up to the board as well.
Well, I know last year it was just the wine idea.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
a winery that was
Right.
we were scrambling so much back then. We did discuss internally having a local craft brewery there, but be happy with just wine.
Okay. Any other comments there, Jane?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So we'll reach out to the residents here. Any comments?
Any comments? Tom Parr, Adam Thomas, Cheryl Spalding, anybody? Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Tony?
It's not.
Well, just so the folks in Zoom, Cheryl had mentioned that all that was missing last year was wine. That is on the record now. Tony, and your concern is how much is it for the license? I think that's on
That would be
the
on
provider.
So there's different different
That-
types
that
of
would not be on
licenses,
us.
a Pennsylvania preferred license, a regular one.
Yes.
So there are different levels, but absolutely not.
No. They're just responsible for making sure they have the license, that the provider has the license.
Okay. No other comments? Adam?
And just
Yeah, I know,
since
it's
we're
getting
going to
late.
keep translating
Just
because
kinda-
no one's getting up to the microphone.
Kind of summarize that, please.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why we would require any provider, give to the township all the necessary information before the event.
Everybody knows I want to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
All right.
Tip, tip.
All right, any comments from Zoom?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Let's get it on the agenda for vote for next month, or next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will say thank you so much for bringing this to us early.
Oh, yeah.
That is a huge help. So, okay.
Thank
That's,
you.
All right. Resolution. Oh, we already did that. Board minutes. Okay. We're near the end. Excuse me, minutes to approve, April 24th.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Evans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, minutes, have been approved, 5-0. And Finance, Department, we have a check approval for check round 53,940 to 54,004.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Evans. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Checks have been approved. Boom. Meat and potatoes, board liaisons. We'll start with Park and Rec.
Abby, you might want to take this in my absence, but the only one thing that I wanted to mention, and you might elaborate on it, and it was because it came up in COG, and I think it was for the interest that they were having in, I think what is it called? The Waste to Bench program, where they're interested in starting to collect or have been collecting plastic items such as plastic bags and things, don't take a little bit of time to disintegrate, like over 10 years. So they're collecting, it's an organization. They're based out of Coatesville, it's a family. And what they're doing is a lot of preserved business benches. So they're making these benches out of plastic materials that otherwise will end up in the dumps or end up in streams. And they're actually building benches that will be placed throughout our local municipalities and governing bodies in Chester County, which I thought was interesting. So, and outside of that, some of the other things from Park and Rec, I know we are still anticipating a great turnout for the May 31st bus trip to New York and getting ready for our
Hey, Tony.
series for our movie series at the park. We have 2 dates slated for the movie events. July is at the 14th and June 14th and July 18th, and looking at other activities and community awareness themes to put in with our movie ideas.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's Jaaco is the name of the company that you're talking about. They came and did a presentation to Parks and Rec, and it's super fun. Yeah, it's a family. I think they actually live in Calne, and they're working with a manufacturer in Delaware who is creating it's plastic lumber, basically, like Treps or something similar.
Like the Pollywood stuff?
Yeah. Different colors, different combinations. They're doing custom benches for groups, and so they came to us about maybe cementing like a memorial bench program, which would be great. Their costs are a little bit less than buying it through a catalog. I like that it's local, no shipping, so that's something to consider. They were
nice,
really lovely, and I think that the board was very willing to work with them. Future bench purchases, we would talk to them about that. They were very clear, though, they do not need any more plastic of any kind. So a few people offered to do a plastic bag drive for them, and they're like, no, we have all the plastic. We
Yeah,
know
they got
we're
like
doing
10
it.
tons.
They need demand for the product.
Right.
So they were talking about doing some crowdfunding. People could pitch in $5, and eventually we would use it to buy a bench for a park. Or we talked about along Geo Carlson or back in the Meadow. Lots of options for bench locations in the future. So yeah, that was a nice presentation by them. I think you covered the events pretty well. We're starting with Wonka, the new one with Timothée Chalamet, not the creepy ones from the past. Creepy.
Love the
Good,
original.
creepy.
The original was perfect.
Okay. And then Finding Nemo. So those were the two winners in our Facebook poll. So yeah, those are the movies this summer. And then we're working on National Night Out. It's going to be huge this year. So Parks and Rec is talking about that. And then Art in the Park. So lots of fun going on. And there are still 6 seats left on this New York bus. So please tell your friends. Come to New York. It's going to be great. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Abby.
Okay.
Jane, you want to lead into COG?
COG, again, everybody's hot on this new initiative with the reproduction of the plasticware and the benches that was hot. Everybody interested in, and knowing that you can also get businesses, some of our businesses to sponsor benches, maybe outside of their restaurants and stores, with memorial tags and things on them. So these people are really taking off big. That was good. I mean, there was some discussion about transportation and essentially, with the SEPTA system and the crisis that they're having and the impact that it could have on our communities. We're already struggling, with transportation issues. And if that would happen, the impact it have on, some of our families and people wanting to even move here or live here when you don't have a good public transportation system. The scholarship will be announced. They're still doing the youth advisory scholarship, partnering with some of the area school districts for students that are interested in going into local government programs and things that would make them hopefully prospective candidates for many of our boards throughout COG. And they will announce that the deadline was April 23rd. So they'll announce, who will receive the scholarship was based on an essay. And also everybody's getting excited about America 250, the celebration, and just asking us again to make sure that we make the pledge. So if anybody still has ideas or initiatives that they want to do, there's lots of workshop. There's like also counseling and community collaborations that are going on. And so if you don't know how to get your township or your local government involved in this big event that's coming up next year throughout our county and throughout America, they're just networking all the time. So I know COG is doing some things collectively with some of the other municipalities. So I guess they'll share that as it gets a little bit more organized. Outside of that, there's a big event on May 20th at the Honeybrook Golf Club. It's a big fundraiser for the Coastville Catholic School. And apparently they've raised over $275,000 for scholarship awards and grants. Maybe I'll share that with Nicole because even if it isn't for the Catholic school, just the fact that they are doing these type of events is and I know her agenda is full, but just to see that people are using the golf courses in and around Chester County to help other organizations is a great initiative. And people seem to really like coming on the greens to entertain and socialize. The ambiance that it offers and the sport with it, it's just the combination of it is, just catching fire. There's multiple golf courses throughout Chester County, and I think we're growing in the awareness and some of the initiatives that we're taking. I think we're going to be at the top of the list soon. So that was pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Municipal Authority. Excuse me. Our April meeting, we awarded the County Meeting House Granger Lane sewer extension, which is up the street from the broken down culvert. We awarded the project to J. Phillips Excavating and Hauling in the amount of $656,433. This installs approximately 1,300 feet of an 8-inch sewer main with the associated manholes and lateral stubs to serve 33 existing homes in that area. The CTMA was awarded $498,958 grant from the CFA. And so that'll help cover the majority of the cost. Also, we submitted a grant app to the DCED for the Small Water and Sewer Grant Program again. This is for that Phase 2 Dogwood Scott section that it was just a little section that was not serviced by the Phase 1 project when it was installed. And this is for about the 14 existing homes that are left in that area. So, and that was because of the solar farm. And as far as Dara, oh, wait a minute. Tony had already left, but we're actually doing the second section of the 2025 grouting project in the Colonial Gardens section. So if you guys see the trucks in our neighborhood, they're working on the back end. Okay. So, but, and that'll finish off our neighborhood, by the way. And that's just grouting of all the joints. They test it and see if anything fails and just make sure it's sealed properly. Right. And for Dara, it's not much of a update, but Mr. Mays stated that the project design continues and he received the draft contract drawings from their engineer and are under review. So we're just moving along with our expansion at the Dara plant. That's all I had for that. Fire board, we did not meet since last meeting or the meeting before. So we will move on to the exciting part of Historical Commission.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I'm gonna keep this pretty short. We had at our last meeting, we agreed to on a number of things for the plan for the June 20th picnic, and we voted to approve going in on a joint grant application with OCHS and Francis Beckman Davis Farm for a semi-quincentennial grant. We had a meeting on that tonight. We had a meeting planning on the picnic tonight, and we're just really excited. The picnic's going to be great this year, bigger and better, and hopefully we'll get that grant for next year when it's the big shoe. So that's all. Well, we meet next Wednesday, right? I read about that. No, we meet a week and a half from now, that Wednesday.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Lincoln Highway.
We have not met. We have not met since the last report. We meet actually next Wednesday. That's the meeting.
Right.
Next Wednesday. So I'll provide a report at the next meeting.
All right. Sounds good. Ingleside Golf Course.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorraine, and we're talking about Ingleside Golf Course. The club membership's been available with discounts to Cowan residents, seniors, juniors, family, and veterans. March 2025 was the best March ever for revenue and players.
Could not believe that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Planning for events and fundraisers throughout 2025 are led by John Frank as event manager, are expanding and including school golf programs, using Ingleside as their home course, fundraising events, and benefits hosted at Ingleside. Golf course improvements continue, including rebuilding, sand bunkers, and tree trimming. Noted improvements realized through improved irrigation system, which is providing greens ready to play right now and as the weather improves. Spring 2025 Ingleside Golf Jobs Fair is in the planning. New hires include talented students. Our next golf meeting will be held Monday, June 30th at 12 noon. Great job, Nicole, and the entire Ingleside golf team for implementation of a robust beginning to 2025. The weather is improving, so come out to play Ingleside. That's it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lorraine.
You're welcome.
All right, next, additional business. End of this time. Public comment? Cheryl, come on up.
I'm sure you've all seen that.
This is
there's-
Cheryl Spalding. Yes. Thank you. That's all right. It's getting late.
There's a plan spoken to stop the septic line. Mainline septic line, which is right here. Going down. And I just wondered if Alan, I know some of the townships have already voiced their concern to septic.
We,
If you haven't,
We passed a
Passed a
resolution.
resolution at our last meeting, and letters have gone to our, all of our representatives and to
somebody
SEPTA.
thinks this is big, but if it's not,
Yeah. Major problem.
It is.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? None here in the township building? None in Zoom?
Still moved.
Second.
Well, before adjournment, I just want to say there's a fruity drink with an umbrella waiting for me in the Bahamas.
That's right.
And you guys made me stay this late, so moved and adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.